Hello and welcome to another episode of Jazzbiz Buzz. Today, we'll be engaging in conversation with Mr. Saad Niazi, CEO Keenu, and we'll talk about the advancement of payment integrations and digitalization of financial industry in Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum ji, kya haal hai aapke?
Assalam, alhamdulillah, theek thaak.
Very well, alhamdulillah. Saad, a very basic question I ask everyone in the beginning of the interview. How did you start your career and how did you end up at Keenu?
I mean, Keenu happened as, as coincidence, I'd rather say.
Really?
Started off my career at a very different tangent altogether. I was a software engineer as per my degree. Graduated back then, started my career with a couple of software companies, joined a bank back in the day in 2007. I joined Faisal Bank, and from being a product manager of various alternate distribution channels back in the day, as they were called, there was no digital banking department back then. From there, the idea just came up that, you know, Pakistan is lagging behind in the basic infrastructure, which is probably the bedrock of digitization. And courtesy the exposure that I had over there, and I was able to, you know, travel around, and I used to witness and read a lot of case studies how things changed in other parts of the world. So it was clear to me that there's a certain gap between people who use ATMs, because I used to monitor them, being in charge of ATMs at that time. ATMs, POS, had exposure to every other digital channel that time. So knew that there's a apparent gap, and people are taking out cash and spending in avenues which can all be digitized. But what is the starting point? So there needs to be a company that starts with the basic infrastructure, work its way up. And yet, because we were targeting Pakistan as a country for this business, then it has to be a sustainable business model.
Yep.
So a very careful blend of flamboyance and maturity at the same time, right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So actually, Keenu and I actually started the journey together because I founded Keenu back then.
Oh wow! That's
along with 5 other co-founders who, alhamdulillah, are still intact and are part of the team. So that has been Keenu's biggest strength, alhamdulillah. So in 2013, we started. And through ups and downs and everything, here we are.
That's very nice. It's a nice journey. And I think it's very important because, you know, Pakistan has been lagging behind in a lot of technological fronts, and it's always nice to meet somebody who is the founder of something new in Pakistan. But on that note, Keenu device is looked at as something that is just used for payment. You go in there, you insert your card or you tap your card and you punch in your numbers and the payment is done at that point in time. However, my understanding and the understanding of now most of the educated people in technology is that there is a world beyond that. There is a world of integrations and data points and all of those things that can actually help digitalization, inventory management and all of other things as well. What's your view on that?
My views are the same actually, because Keenu, and being known as a POS providing entity that provides, you know, the basic payment infrastructure, that's always been a starting point. That was never the end goal that we were chasing. So if I talk about the overall vision, parts of which I can share, parts of which I won't, I think 5% of that happens to be POS. We are also, we are an EMI under State Bank of Pakistan. We do offer consumer wallets. We're up and running live. You can go and you can download it. But our way of thinking is a bit different. As I said, we always wanted sustainability factor in our business.
Yeah.
We never wanted Keenu to be left around, and depending on the environmental factors, be it global, be it local. We wanted the business to have its own course, and when you ensure sustainability, then that is where you could create offshoots as well, and dovetail into various other and pivot into various other businesses as well. So I think that was the first goal. It took us a long time, as per international standards, but in Pakistan there are certain issues of its own, where you have to dig a lot deeper than others if you compare yourself around the world. So if you talk about, if in a nutshell, it's been 10 years, alhamdulillah. Probably the longest till now that any fintech or a payments entity has survived, right? And alhamdulillah, built a sustainable, profitable business, which probably is very far and very few and far about. I mean, I think we are one of the only ones, or maybe one of the two, other than being a telco or a bank, that have built a profitable business, alhamdulillah. But after, I mean, a decade from now, if we meet, I think Keenu would be known as a data company rather than anything else, because Pakistan and us and the overall market is right at the cusp of, really utilizing that potential of data.
Yeah.
Till this time, we have been talking about it. Data is the new oil, but the missing piece was Keenu. And I say this because the traffic that comes to us and the, integrated payments that we talk about are now in essence and spirit, they are being implemented. It takes time. A year from now, you will see the difference. Couple of years from now, you will see marketing costs being reduced. And, after that, there will be no looking back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to know. One question that I always think about is whenever I see a POS machine, there's a person who's dealing with it. And that person usually is a shopkeeper who's not very well educated. And he can't probably understand the extent to which the technology can be utilized and the extent to which the technology can actually help their company in terms of data, in terms of, efficiency, etc. Is there any kind of barrier that you have faced on this particular part? Because the people managing are the people that need to be trained as well, and they need to be educated as well.
See, they're both sides of the coin. One part is that, of course, education, training is important. Something new is being introduced, it's very important. But to that argument, I think that argument kind of fails when we look at examples of Jazz itself. Telenor, Jazz, they were able to, and you guys for that matter, the other wing was able to expand into far-flung areas, and Pakistan became a case study of, cell phone penetration in the world, you went to all the areas which are currently known as people, kind of not very literate areas, not very educated areas. How did that happen? Which means number literacy has nothing to do with education, right? Likewise, people all around the country, they do transactions, personal or business, every day on cash, small ticket, big ticket. So education and number literacy, they are two different things. That's what experience tells us, right? The second part is we, as entities, including Keenu, we have not really, I would rather say, worked hard enough to build the right kind of UI and UX. It's now being realized how important it is. It can unlock potential that is in short term nothing short of 10-15%, going beyond unmeasurable to an unmeasurable number. But I think training, retraining, that's part of the job. Once a POS machine or any, for that matter, acceptance point, it gets passed to the other second generation, then training would not be required anymore.
Yeah, that's also
That
true.
is when it comes into the blood, right?
That's also true.
And so see, instead of being very hasty, we all must realize that we all got to slow down a bit, not in terms of execution, in terms of our thought processes. Why are we in such a hurry? 10 years ago, there was no payment gateway in the country. Nowadays, there are so many payment gateways that you don't find really, the online stores where you would put them. So that is good progress.
Yeah, that's actually true.
I remember very clearly, I used to be in banking back then, when I first saw the guidelines of branchless banking, right? Here you go, we are sitting in a setup which is leading it by, an unimaginable margin, right?
Yeah.
So that means it's good progress with very minimal resources. Capital was brought in. So I think we got to always look back to where we have come from.
Yeah.
Right? In that way, I think training is a small piece, a small blip if you look at the entire canvas.
Ecosystem. Yeah.
And so after a couple of years, you see, transitioning from a point where if you issue, back in the day when we used to issue Visa cards, we used to get calls at our call center. that have I got an American visa? Have I got an US visa? Although it was just a debit card, right?
Yeah.
And explaining people the struggles of, the struggles of explaining people of how to use it on a POS.
And now it is so easy to understand people.
The paradigm shift, you see,
Yeah.
we have to wait for the paradigm shift. It's
Yeah.
the pace of which we can't control.
That's true.
But when it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
So this paradigm shift has happened. I tell you this very clearly that training of that guy standing on the till is not that big a challenge as it used to be.
Wow.
That guy always gives you a good feedback, and the company which will perform best will not be the one that will be the cheapest. Will be the one who adapts accordingly and who listens to them and is able to change that user experience at the till, because that is where the transaction is actually happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening in a conference room
Yeah.
or in a boardroom. It's
Yeah.
happening right at the till. So that is the guy that's more important.
Yeah, that's also true. So you spoke about data, and data is the new big thing in the world right now, and everybody's running after it, and everybody's spending money on it, and everybody's sort of doing that. I understand that most of Pakistan's population is still unbanked, so there's only a few, and again, even if they are banked, there is yet a lesser amount of people who have debit cards, and then yet another lesser amount of people who have credit cards. So the data that you're collecting is basically on a very smaller sample. However, it's still powerful because the people who have these kind of bank accounts and they have these kind of facilities are the ones who are making the purchases and doing all of those things. Considering this fact, do you think that the trend, as you said, that it's changing? Do you think that the trend is going to change, and do you think कि eventually जब हमारी Gen Z की generation आती है और ये सारे जब अपने आप को equip करते हैं with all of these technologies, do you think that you'll have a bigger data platform, or do you think you still have a powerful data platform?
मैं तो believe ये करता हूँ कि that change has already happened. It's not happening. It has happened. And uski again, we have to make a comparison when we look in retrospect. 2011-12 was the time. Being an oldie, I mean, it's always bad to give examples of a decade ago. People can't relate to it generally, but it's not that long a time. Trust me.
No, it's not.
Considering the evolution and the magnanimity of the evolution we have achieved, it's a decade is nothing. See, 2011-12, it was considered credit card is the in thing, and debit cards generally, which were widely issued even back then. I mean, there was no proportion to it probably. One credit card and there were about like 6, I mean like 4 debit cards. That proportion has probably now gone up to 1:10, right? The usability of credit card on a POS was the main thing. Otherwise, debit card was simply considered a device, an instrument that would give you cash from an ATM.
Yeah.
The ones who realize that will change very quickly and debit cards will turn out to be a bigger instrument than credit for more reasons. I mean, for many more reasons. I mean, simply saying, like, in order to give you a credit card, I mean, you'll have to have the right kind of a job, right kind of a business. That is when you get it. The delinquencies,
a steady income coming into your account
you
every
go through an
month.
economic cycle, the delinquencies and all that. You go through all that, right? Whereas in debit cards, it's a very simple thing. Open up your account, put in 500 rupees, you're eligible to use it.
Use it, yeah.
But as our currency depreciated, that happened to currencies all around the world, the debit card became the trend. And now about 65% of the usage belongs to debit cards, which was unimaginable back in the day. Gen Zs, they were not able to get credit cards when they used to start their careers, which was a problem for them. Now you get flashy gold cards, the very start of your careers, or you could get good platinum cards 5 years into your career based on your salary profile. And that is a kind of a style and a trend as well. Plus, one can't simply carry huge sums of cash, especially in a city like Karachi, because you won't have it at the end of the journey, right? Chances are that very clearly, right? So you go up, you buy yourself a phone, which is now an essential thing. I mean, that big ticket size can't be done in general without a debit card. So that data is getting accumulated. We already know that. Young generation is using it. The EMIs that have mobilized these Gen Zs and above, they have been very successful, and we all see that, in some other conversation, I'm going to talk about them as well, how well they have done in a difficult market. But that has contributed to it. Lastly, the point that you raised that, in a country of 240 million people, see, that is a perspective. I belong to that kind of, I'd say rather a clan that thinks that you go build a business, target a set of customers who can give you a profitable business. Once you have a sustainable, profitable model in place, go down the stream after that. Because see, when you go down the stream, there are two ways to do it. Either you burn a lot of money, but there's an end to it.
Yeah.
No, unsustainable burning of money will eventually will take you towards a road where there's no coming back. And people sitting at the top, they are also driven by moods and emotions, right? And suddenly you have this risk of somebody pulling the plug. So I think it should always have been targeting the top end of the pyramid, coming downwards from there, and that is where the real economy runs from. And that is what Keenu wanted to do. Downstream now, with the advent of Androids, the possibilities are endless for that matter. The tier 2 merchant base have a different kind of need. For example, even 5-6 years ago, they would not put a POS machine or a QR code at their shops because they won't simply care. Now everybody wants access to the banking services. They all know how loans can be beneficial for you. On the other hand, financial institutions are working on, even in this discount rate regime, which has probably been the highest in the country's history, working on cheap loans. Wherever you talk to international donor agencies, they also hint at giving you money which can be, that money can be lent to certain businesses which have requirement of cheap loans. So I think that time has already started.
Preferences are already changing, and behaviors are already changing.
Businesses are already realizing that there's no point in fighting something whose time has come, right? And I see good times ahead. I hope, inshallah, that the financial situation in the world that betters, because this is the right time where a lot of capital is required in the country.
Yeah. So connectivity is a very important thing with POS machines. कई दफ़ा ऐसा होता है आप जाते हैं कार्ड नहीं चल रहा क्यों लिंक डाउन है या connection down है. Connectivity is something that is very, very essential, that sort of acts like a backbone for your business. With the new kind of devices coming in, पहले शायद 2G पे भी चल रही थी devices, लेकिन with the new devices coming in, with 2G, 3G sunset coming in, you actually have to invest in devices that maybe पाकिस्तान के अंदर शायद भी थोड़ा time है इस चीज़ के लिए, but still you have to invest in devices which are future forward, and you also have to sort of think about the fact कि आप इन पे Android devices वगैरह जो flashy type of devices वगैरह आ रही हैं. So how are you changing your business in terms of, A, making sure that the connectivity is perfect, B, making sure that the devices that you're importing are future forward?
देखिए जी, इसका the short and long answer. Short answer is कि Jazz takes care of all these things for us, not because you're taking the interview, because I really feel that we and Pakistan are very lucky to have an entity like yours in the market, which has enabled us. I think should all be proud of working in such a great organization.
Oh, we are.
So I was thinking right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think the answer is very simple. Keenu would not have existed had data SIMs not been aggressively spread across the country.
Yeah.
And that credit goes to Jazz and Telenor and all these telcos that have been around. But having said that, there's always a but over here anyway.
Yeah.
So thing is, one thing that we observe and we see that the quality of data coverage. So a lot of investment is required. Pressures of ARPU, I know the business case does not make sense. All that is true. So for that, like any resilient business in the world, we have our workarounds as well. Not going into very much detail, but there's no alternate to a very good connection on a device, no wires attached, take it anywhere, swipe it, that's the best kind of a thing. But if it doesn't exist, then there's a longer route to it. But entities like us have to take that route.
Yeah, you do.
Even then, the backbone of such an infrastructure is again provided by a company like yours. So we are doing good. You're not doing really, really good in terms of this when I talk about holistically about the country. But as I said earlier, I come from a time where there was nothing. So when there's so much out there, I think of it as an opportunity. I think very positively about it. Things will improve, I'm sure. One more thing, we earlier on as an industry didn't know how to handle Androids and all these devices, and the application that was propagated across the network. The applications are pretty heavy. I'm going into a bit of technical details, but I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible.
No, please do.
Now we have also learned a lot, that our applications have to be, in terms of load, in terms of their own storage capacity, they have to be small in size. They could be propagated across the network, plus there's load balancing. There are multiple ways in which you can actually handle the network choking issue. So all that can be handled, is being handled. Multiple algorithms out there which can be developed. I'm not saying we have done it, or maybe we have, or there are tools available that can help you. So real transactions in terms of when you swipe or tap the card, and transactions that go through, that is improving as we speak. There are blips, I'm sure. Every technological thing has their blips.
Yeah.
One last part, yes, the 4G implementation in Pakistan is not ideal.
Really?
I'll be very honest about it. You simply take a flight, go to UAE or any other GCC country, and you see the difference. You see, everybody observes it. So, which clearly says that it was still required a lot of investment, especially in the last mile. I don't need to go into much detail, but it's not ideal. It can be improved drastically, and that will result in a lot of confidence. So my view would be, instead of jumping to 5G, we should rather provide better 4G, 3G services, and that will probably create enough traction and generate enough revenue and money that we can probably have a case for a 5G over here in the country.
Yeah, naturally. Okay, so a lot of data passes through these PAS machines, and then you have a database, obviously, where you're collecting all of this data. Now, up until a few years ago, there was a policy that told banks that they cannot put their data on cloud unless it is a local cloud. But now a lot of banks are moving towards a local cloud solution. A lot of cybersecurity threats are involved when you're dealing with this amount of data, when there is this sensitive amount of data, when you are basically seeing the bank transactions and the account numbers and all of those things. How do you cater for the security of the data that you are collecting?
देखिए जी, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा लेमैन एग्जाम्पल तो नहीं देना चाहूँगा, लेकिन सिक्योरिटी के बगैर वो कहते हैं ना कि आप खाना एक दफ़ा खा लें, लेकिन सिक्योरिटी ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है. As an organization, we believe in it. Being a regulated entity by a central bank, already our work is cut out. We have to stay upbeat with whatever security trends they're going through. State Bank is very stringent about it as well, and rightly so. I agree with that. So as an organization, we, like any other entity, like yours, yourself, for you as well, data is very important. For entity like us, as important as it is for you. So we keep on investing in better technology, making it secure. For us, the motto is no compromise on security.
Yeah.
We could compromise on a few business deals, but for security, there's no compromise, because one bad incident that can happen, it can ruin your image.
Company's
and
reputation.
Keenu is all about image.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, every employee in the company is always very careful about our image.
Yeah.
So security is like next to the divine, as far as we are concerned.
Yeah. Challenge, that was my last question to you. Thank you so much, Saad,
Thank you.
for
Thanks a lot
coming
for.
over here. It was a really nice interview, a lot of informative things that came out of it, and we really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming to our show. We will be back with another episode of Jazz Biz Buzz. Stay tuned.
Jazz Business, designed to help you grow.